I was a bartender in a historic pub in Scotland. An American tourist ordered a whiskey and asked me, "So is it true you guys hate the English?" I gave a non-committal shrug. He then leaned in conspiratorially and whispered, "Don't worry, we're going to help you guys win the war." I had to inform him that the last major conflict ended in 1746. I was working as a guide at the Normandy American Cemetery. It's a deeply moving and solemn place. I was giving a tour to a small group, explaining the sheer scale of the D-Day landings and the incredible sacrifice made on the beaches below. I paused for a moment of reflection when a man from Texas wearing a cowboy hat broke the silence. He put his arm around his son and said loudly, "See, son? This is what happens when America has to come over and win Europe's wars for them. We're basically the world's big brother." "You're welcome, France." The palpable cringe from the other tourists, including several Europeans, was so intense it felt like the temperature dropped. A man at a Scottish whisky distillery finished his tour and tasting. He approached the master distiller and said, "That was very nice, but do you have anything that tastes more like Fireball? I prefer my whiskey with a bit more cinnamon and sweetness. This stuff just tastes like alcohol." At a 5-star hotel in Dubai, an American guest complained to the concierge that the gold-plated faucets in his bathroom were a bit tacky. He then asked, "Do you have any rooms that are more American? You know, with normal chrome fixtures and a bigger TV. I feel like you guys are trying too hard." My friend owns a traditional family-run pizzeria in Naples, certified by the AVPN, meaning they follow the strict original methods. An American family came in and tried to order. The father asked for a large pepperoni pizza with extra cheese. My friend politely explained they only make traditional pizzas like margherita and marinara. The man then asked for a Hawaiian pizza. When my friend said they absolutely do not put pineapple on pizza, the American got angry. "What kind of pizza place is this? The customer is always right. We want pineapple." My friend, a very proud Neapolitan, simply replied, "Sir, in my pizzeria, the pizza is always right." Perhaps you are looking for the Domino's near the train station. I was on a multi-day trek in the Peruvian Andes heading towards a remote village. The scenery was breathtakingly rugged and beautiful. One of the Americans in our group, a woman from California, seemed unimpressed. On the 3rd day, she complained to our local guide, "You know, the trails here are very poorly maintained. In Yosemite, the paths are clearly marked and paved in some areas. You should really get your National Park Service to invest in some infrastructure. It would be so much more accessible and, frankly, safer for tourists like us." The guide, whose ancestors had walked these same paths for centuries, just smiled and said, "The mountains do not change for us. We change for the mountains." My sister was a tour guide in Rome. A tourist, looking at the incredible ruins of the Forum, asked her, "This is all very interesting, but where's the part that was in the movie Gladiator?" "I want to see the spot where Russell Crowe fought the tigers. That's the main reason we came." I was on a train in Japan and watched an American tourist get increasingly frustrated with the automated ticket machine. He started hitting it and yelling, "Speak English! This is a major city. Why doesn't anything here work in English?" He was pressing the giant button on the screen that said English the entire time. I was a student in Kyoto and was invited to a formal tea ceremony. It was a beautiful, meditative experience with every movement precise and full of meaning. An American businessman was also a guest, and he was clearly bored out of his mind. He kept checking his watch and sighing. Halfway through, as the tea master was whisking the matcha, he whispered loudly to his colleague, "This is so inefficient. You could totally automate this whole process. A Keurig machine could do this in 30 seconds. It's a terrible business model." The tea master paused for a fraction of a second, the only sign she had heard him, before continuing with perfect grace. "I worked the front desk at a luxury hotel in Iceland during the winter. An American couple checked in, and the wife immediately came to me with a demand. Hi, we've booked the Northern Lights package. Can you please tell me what time the show starts tonight and from which direction they will appear? I need to set up my tripod on our balcony and I don't want to miss the beginning of the performance. I had to gently explain that the aurora borealis is a natural phenomenon, dependent on solar activity and clear skies, not a scheduled event. She looked genuinely baffled and replied, "But we paid extra for it." That seems like false advertising. A tourist in Istanbul's Grand Bazaar approached my uncle's rug shop. She was holding a small rug she'd clearly bought elsewhere. "I'd like to return this," she said. "The colours don't match my living room." My uncle tried to explain that his shop is not affiliated with every other rug shop in Turkey. She replied, "This is ridiculous. Where is your customer service department?" A young couple came into the travel agency I worked at, pointing at a map of Africa. "We want to go on a safari," the man said. "Can you book us a hotel in Pride Rock? We really want to see where Simba grew up." I had to gently break the news to two grown adults that The Lion King was a fictional movie. In a crowded market in Marrakesh, I watched an American tourist try to buy a lantern. The vendor quoted him a price. The American laughed, pulled out a handful of loose change from his pocket, a mix of US cents and dimes, and offered it to the vendor. "I'll give you all of this for it." "It's American money, so it's probably worth a lot more to you." The vendor, a proud man who had been doing this for 40 years, looked at the insulting handful of shrapnel, then looked at the tourist and simply said, "My friend, your money is not magic here. Please have a nice day," and turned to help another customer. While visiting a temple in Chiang Mai, Thailand, I saw an American tourist approach a meditating monk. He waved a 500 baht note in the monk's face and asked, "Hey buddy, what's the going rate for blessings? I need enough good karma to cancel out a weekend I spent in Vegas last year. Can we make a deal?" An American in a tiny Irish village pub asked the bartender, "Excuse me, could you tell me where the nearest Walmart is? I need to pick up a few things." The bartender chuckled and replied, "Son, the nearest thing we have to a Walmart is Mrs. O'Connell's shop. And she sells bread, milk and gossip. Take your pick." I was on a boat tour of the Galapagos Islands. The naturalist guide was explaining the unique evolutionary traits of the blue-footed boobies. A man from Florida interrupted him, saying, Yeah, the blue feet are cool, but where are the monkeys and the tigers? I thought this was a jungle." It's a bit disappointing, to be honest. It feels like a half-finished zoo. You guys should import some more exciting animals to make the trip worth the money. The guide was speechless, trying to process the suggestion of introducing invasive predators to one of the world's most delicate and unique ecosystems. I was bartending in Dublin when a group of American college students on spring break came in. One of them, wearing a "Kiss Me I'm Irish-ish" t-shirt, ordered a round of Irish car bombs. I politely told him that we don't serve that drink, as the name is deeply offensive to people here due to its reference to a painful and violent history. He rolled his eyes and said, "Dude, relax, it's just a drink. It's not like it's a real bomb. You guys need to learn to take a joke." We do it all the time in the States to celebrate our Irish heritage. The entire pub went quiet until my manager firmly asked them to leave. While visiting the ancient city of Ephesus in Turkey, our tour group was marvelling at the Library of Celsus. It's a magnificent restored facade. An American woman turned to her husband and said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "It's pretty, but it's a shame they didn't finish it. It's just the front wall. In America, when we build a library, we build the whole thing with walls and a roof and everything. This feels a bit lazy, like they just gave up halfway through the project." Our Turkish guide had to take a very deep breath before explaining the concept of archaeological ruins. I was working at a ski resort in the French Alps. An American skier came to the rental shop to complain about the conditions. "The snow here is all wrong," he said. "It's too powdery and soft. I'm used to the snow in Colorado, which is perfectly groomed and packed, can you tell your snowmaking team to make it more like the snow we have in Aspen? I had to explain to a grown man on top of a mountain in the Alps that the several feet of snow he was complaining about had fallen from the sky and was not in fact man-made. A friend of mine is a chef at a renowned restaurant in Lima, Peru, famous for its authentic ceviche. An American tourist ordered the dish, and when it arrived, he called my friend out of the kitchen. "Excuse me, chef," the man said, "I think you forgot to cook the fish. It's all raw." "I'm not eating sushi. Could you please take this back and put it on the grill for a few minutes?" My friend then had to give an impromptu science lesson on how citrus juice denatures the proteins in fish, effectively cooking it, while the man stared at him with a look of complete and utter distrust. I was on a train from Vienna to Budapest. An American couple across the aisle were looking at a map. The wife said, "Okay, so we're in Austria and we're going to Hungary. Are they going to check our passports at the border?" The husband scoffed. "Honey, no. It's all the European Union. It's basically like driving from Ohio to Indiana. They're all the same country now, they just have different coloured flags for decoration." He said this with the confidence of a man who had just solved a great geopolitical mystery. I was working at a cheese shop in a small village in Switzerland. An American tourist came in and asked to sample some cheese. I gave him a piece of our finest Gruyere, aged for 18 months. He chewed it thoughtfully for a moment and then said, "It's got a weird, nutty flavour. It's a bit strong. Do you have anything more normal? You know, like a classic American cheese, something orange and individually wrapped would be perfect." I swear, I could hear the collective gasp of all my Swiss ancestors at that moment. During a tour of a historic samurai district in Kanazawa, Japan, our guide was explaining the strict code of Bushido and the importance of honor. An American in the group raised his hand. "This is all very fascinating," he began, "but it seems really inefficient. All this ritualism and loyalty. In America, if your boss is a jerk, you just quit and find a new job. Or you sue him. It seems like a much better system than all this sword stuff." He was genuinely offering career advice to the ghosts of feudal Japan. I was on a flight from New York to Rome, sitting next to a young woman who was going on her first trip to Europe. She was very excited. She turned to me mid-flight and asked, "So, I have a question. I know Italy is on, like, a different time zone. But do they also use the same 24-hour day as us? Or is their time measured differently? Like, do they have 26 hours in a day or something because they're older?" I was so stunned by the question that I just said, "No, it's the same 24 hours, and she seemed genuinely relieved. I was managing a high-end restaurant in Florence. An American couple, after finishing their meal, called me over. The husband asked with a completely straight face. The food was good, but we were a little disappointed. We were waiting for the complimentary breadsticks and salad. Is that not a thing in Italy? I had to politely explain that Olive Garden is not an accurate representation of authentic Italian dining. A tourist came to the information desk at a London train station where I worked. He spread a map of England on the counter and said, "Okay, we have one afternoon. We want to see Windsor Castle, Warwick Castle, and Dover Castle. What's the best subway line to take to connect all three?" I just stared at him for a moment before explaining that those are in completely different parts of the country, hours apart. I was working at a wildlife sanctuary in Australia. An American tourist was watching a koala sleeping in a tree. After about 5 minutes, he flagged me down and asked, "Is that one broken? It hasn't moved at all. Or is it like a really convincing robot you put up there for the tourists?" I assured him it was a real and very sleepy koala. My friend is a translator for a Japanese tech company. During a meeting, his American boss kept bowing lower and lower every time his Japanese counterpart bowed. Later, the boss boasted to my friend, "You see that? You have to show them you're in charge. I definitely won the bow off. He thought a gesture of respect was a competition of dominance. At the Louvre, I watched an American teenager stare at the Mona Lisa, which is protected behind glass and has a large crowd. He turned to his mom and complained loudly, "This is such a rip-off. The painting is smaller than my iPad screen. I can't even get a good selfie with it. The pictures on Google are way better." A tourist on the German Autobahn was pulled over for speeding. He was irate, telling the Polizei, "This is the Autobahn. I thought there were no speed limits here. This is a violation of my freedom." The officer calmly pointed to the sign indicating a temporary 80 km/h limit for a construction zone and handed him the ticket. I was working at a cafe in Copenhagen. An American woman ran in from the street, completely panicked. Somebody left their baby outside in the cold. "Call the police." I had to walk her outside and explain that it's very common for Danish parents to let their babies nap in their prams in the fresh air. She looked at me as if I were the crazy one.